I'll be testing the myth that fire can be put out with sound. I'll be using a method found in this book that states that you are able to do this with a drum-like structure. I'll be using the method exactly, and I'll also expand upon it if it does not work. Let's jump into it. Before we start any experiments, we need to consider safety aspects of what we're doing. Now, in this case, the only safety aspects we really have to look at is the fire itself and the dangers it causes and the hazards. Now, to deal with this, what I have is I have a glass of water, I have a damp towel, I have a fire blanket, and I also have a small fire extinguisher. However, this is not the only thing we have to consider. We also have to consider other things such as burns, so you never want to put any of your hands or any part of your body anywhere near this flame. And of course, if you have long hair, you always want to tie it back, and you never want to put anything flammable anywhere near the fire. I've set up the experiment as stated in this book, that's down here. Now what I've done is I've got a candle burning, and that's over there, and I have the tube with cling wrap on the top. Now, theoretically, this should, when I bang it, put out the candle. However, just watch. It barely affects the candle whatsoever. So the next stage in the experiment is to scale it up. So what I've got is I've got this drum. However, I can't just put the drum straight over the flame, or this will happen. As you can see, the candle will die out from lack of oxygen. What I did to remedy the situation of the flame being starved of oxygen, all I'm going to do is I'm going to prop it up so that the flame can still get some oxygen. Now, when I do this, you can see what happens. The flame goes out. In the first experiment, we couldn't exactly see what was happening, so all I've got is this tube here, and we're going to do it again. Theoretically, we've just proven that the sound from the drum can put out the candle. However, what if this is not the case? What if it is just air from the drum putting out the candle? So to test this, what I did was, I put the candle inside this protective case and did the exact same experiment. Now, as you can see, the candle did not go out. The reason why I have placed the candle inside this protective container is to show that it is not sound that puts out the flame, more the airflow. If it was sound, the candle would still go out, as it still has full exposure to the sound from the drum. However, since it is the airflow, the air can no longer flow past the wick because it is inside this container. This just goes to show that it is not sound that's putting out the candle, but the flow of air from the drum. After our last experiment, you might be wondering, does frequency of sound have anything to do with if a candle flame goes out or not? Well, this is what I'm about to test. I'm going to go through a range of frequencies and see if they have any effect on the candle. So let's get started. That was 144 Hertz, and that did nothing. Okay, so this is 100 Hertz. This is 70 Hertz. This is 50 Hertz. This is 30 Hertz. And the very last one, 20 Hertz. So as we can see from our experiment, frequency doesn't have much to do with whether or not the candle flame goes out. However, some scientists at DERPA were able to create something very similar to what I was trying to do, except on a much larger scale. So as you can see, the people at DARPA were able to accomplish what I could not. However, they did this through using much more power than I could ever hope to have. Now, the way they did this was they used highly tuned frequencies to accelerate the vaporization of the fuel for the flame. This then caused it to go out. In conclusion, you were not able to put out fire with pure sound under normal conditions. However, scientists have been able to put out fire with sound using extraordinary amounts of power and finely tuned